Are there any additions to the agenda this morning?
Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of council. No additions from administration.
Okay, anything from council? Is there a member of council that would like to approve the agenda for the February 18th, 2026 regular meeting of council? Councillor Clark, all in favor? That is carried. Any corrections or amendments to the February 4th, 2026 regular meeting of council minutes? Is there a member of council that would like to approve these? Councillor Wheeler, thank you very much. I'll call the motion. All in favor? That is carried. We have no proclamations, no public hearings this morning. We do have one delegation, 6.1, Drayton Valley Municipal Library. Good morning and welcome.
I thought it was on. Oh, sorry, you guys. Okay, cool. Yes, so I'm Rebecca, and I am the manager at the library. So today we're going to talk about the library.
Do you want to tell us who you brought with you today?
Oh, yes. Okay, so we have Colleen and Paula, and they are members of the library board. So they're here to support me.
Oh, wonderful. Good job.
Yes.
Thank you for coming out.
All right, so in the package here, so our library is a member of Yellowhead Regional Library, and they created this graphic to better explain the roles of libraries. And so they do a wonderful job of supporting us, like anything we need, like any kind of training, they're right in there helping and guiding us. So libraries, people think libraries are outdated and they're dead and people just don't use them anymore, but that can be further from the truth. So libraries provide a place for skill and job training resources. We offer local workshops and programs. We have various materials in different kinds of formats. And we also offer a place for people to come together. So this is our 2025 statistics. So like I said, people think that, who still comes to the library, but when you look at the stats, there's a large chunk of people that still make use of the library. So for example, we had 3,400 public computer sessions. People are still coming to the library because in rural areas, they still don't have access to reliable internet or, it's too expensive. We offer 305 programs. We have 1,395 active borrowers. And we added just about 2,500 items to our collection, and in total, 50,900 items were checked out. So yeah, it just goes to show, people are still coming, and we have lots to offer. So Drayton Valley Library supports municipal priorities. So I did see that the town of Drayton Valley is in the process of developing a regional recreation and culture master plan. The desired outcome is for the town of Drayton Valley to meet the recreational, social, and cultural needs of a growing regional center. And then through our plan of service, we have developed goals to try to best meet the needs of the community. The library board is invested to continue to foster a positive working relationship through collaboration with the town and county. So in our plan of service, which is we finalized last year and it's good until 2028, the library believes in 7 core values. So relevancy, libraries remain relevant by providing access to new technology and clarifying misinformation. Equality, so we welcome people of any age, gender, socioeconomic status into the library. Accessibility, so all of our resources, services, and programs are free. And we acknowledge our community's changing demographics. We evolve to meet user needs. we are a respectful place. So we are a source of information, and we want to treat patrons, everybody the same with respect and dignity. And the library, most of all, is a safe place for people to come together. So our goals, within our plan of service, the library board has 4 goals. Goal number 1 is to grow resources, staff, and members. Goal number 2, provide patrons with a comfortable, safe, accessible experience. Goal number 3, create and maintain partnerships. And number 4, ensure the library remains relevant. So achieving those goals. We are achieving several of our goals by ongoing professional development training for staff in areas such as censorship and intellectual freedom, homelessness, ATIA, POPA, and workshops, conferences organized by Yellowhead Regional Library. Implementing a library of things, which is a collection of non-traditional items patrons can borrow. Purchasing study pods for quiet, steady tutoring and exam invigilations. Maintaining a safe space by hiring a security guard. Expanding programs, building new partnerships, and fostering existing partnerships. And through our efforts, we are empowering community through collection. A community library. Our library supports education through programs, loaning books, other resources to students and teachers, and supporting the homeschool families in our community. We support employment by providing tech and resume help, and we support economic development by providing equipment and resources to newcomers in the community and working with other organizations. In terms of budget, so as you can see, our previous budgets in 2024 and 2025, those were our lowest budgets that we received. In 2026, we are hoping for an increase, a 3.5% increase, to bring up the total budget to $297,452. So the reason why we are asking for this increase is due to the cost of living, not having an increase for the past several years, and to increase services and resources. And is there any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions this morning? Go ahead, Councillor Jeffrey.
Morning.
Morning.
I just have I'm curious about a couple of things.
Sure.
You refer to implementing a library of things. I'm curious about what kind of things are in there.
It's going to be very exciting. We've already purchased things already. So basically, think of stuff that you have around your house that you buy and you've only maybe used like a couple times. Like say you're not really like, a do-it-yourselfer, and so you bought like a drill or some other tools,
yeah.
and then they just kind of sit there and they collect dust. So our aim is to purchase things that people can borrow, that, stuff they just need for a very short period of time. So like power tools, we have drills, we have like an impact drill, a laser level, that kind of stuff, or even recreational stuff. So say you're going camping and like you want that axe throwing game, or like Jenga or whatever. So we have like health stuff. So say, you need like a blood pressure monitor or an oxygenator. So instead of buying those things that you're just going to use and then it's just going to lay around your house, you can actually come to the library and you can borrow those types of things. Yes.
Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, and I also picked up somewhere, do you offer like workshops and programming in tech support?
We do.
Just asking for a friend, yeah.
We do. So we try to set aside a couple of days each month, and our programmer will actually sit down with individuals and help them with any problems they might have. The most common problem is a lot of people like to use their tablets for ebooks and e-audiobooks, so they're not sure how to set up their tablet to access those resources. Or, people need help with apps or like getting into their email, setting up an email account. So we do all of that. Yeah, come on over. Yeah, we do lots of things. And even when I mentioned exam invigilations, a lot of people didn't realize that we offer that at the library. But really, I don't think there is any other place in town that does it. So.
And how are you, do you have another question? Go ahead.
Well, I'll just fill in, I'm pertaining to that point. That's what I was curious about, is whether or not there is another place that anybody could do that you know of, and you say no.
I haven't heard, like, I remember when, when the CETC
Yes,
was
yeah.
still, they had those rooms for exam invigilations, but I don't know how many they actually got down there. But last week, I had a lady come down from Wetaskiwin to write in an exam because she said it was like the closest place and the fastest place she could get in.
That's a very good service to
Yeah.
provide. Good for you.
So with the resources, like you talked about the items being borrowed and then for the exams and stuff, how are you getting the word out in the community? How are you advertising?
So we've been bumping up our advertising and promotions, so putting stuff in the free press. We have everything on Facebook as well as our website. And then with the free press, once we get our study pods and the library things more established, the free press has that 12 businesses, like 12 months. So we're going to do like a whole spread. And plus, in October, we did an open house. So we're hoping to do another open house in October. And just word of mouth and our newsletters.
Wonderful. Could you maybe tell us about any projects or programs that you have coming up at the library for this year? Any special projects or programs?
Well, I can say that Shayna is always working on new programs. She's a wonderful programmer. She's been doing a lot more paint nights for adults because that's one area that is lacking is like adult programs. And she's doing, more technical stuff for like the younger kids, like the STEM, the lab rats and lab coats. I don't know specifically what she has on the go. I need to touch base with her, but she always has like some idea of what she wants to do.
Wonderful. And again, if anyone's wanting to inquire or find out what programs, Facebook or in the free press?
Yeah, and we have newsletters.
And newsletters.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
you.
Keep up the great work. We appreciate you coming over
Thanks.
this morning.
Yep.
So next on the agenda, we'll jump into our decision items. First up is 8.1, which is the Community Standards Bylaw Text Amendment 2026-02P. This is for second and third reading. Good morning, Mr. Rosing.
So I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details, so I'll just very high level go through it here. So in 2022, the town introduced a new community standards bylaw. Since that time, we have amended the community standards bylaw a couple times, just as new things have emerged in the community, new issues have come forward, and just making sure that the community standards bylaw is kind of staying with what the needs of the communities is. So with that said, 2-ish weeks ago, there was a presentation to council and first reading was passed of the amendment to the community standards bylaw. In here, there's a couple of different things that we're proposing to do. For the most part, cleaning up some of the kind of definitions and stuff like that, changing a little bit of who needs to cut their grass and who doesn't, in particular for residential acreage areas. Big thing that we're changing is proposing to change is removing the timelines for structures that are deemed unfit for human habitation. Currently, they have 2 years from the date that it's deemed unfit to essentially either fix it or remove it. We're proposing changing that down to 180 days, so 6 months, so drastically reducing that, but keeping that consistent with if we were to essentially go through provincial legislation under the Municipal Government Act and an order was issued by a judge, kind of those same type of timelines. So, and being mindful with that one as well is when we introduced it in 2022, we were only the second municipality in Alberta that had this particular thing in our community standards bylaw. So now that it's been a standard within the organization or within the community, and the public is aware of what their expectations are, it's not something new. Again, it's just changing those timelines at that point. Reintroducing the requirement to have a civic address on your property, which was recently or previously under the land use bylaw, was just missed in bringing it forward into the new one. Bringing in some offenses for falsely advertising under the trespassing agent program, introducing things for scavenging in a dumpster or dumpster diving, as others would often call it. Allowing so that administration can make changes to the bylaw without materially affecting it. So again, if there's a spelling or grammar or something like that, we don't need to bring it back to council for that. Removing reference to the Queen's Bench and changing it to the King's Bench. Removing some ability for appeals, such as for sidewalks and vegetation, and rescinding a couple other bylaws that are no longer deemed relevant in the community. So the curfew bylaw, the smoking bylaw, and the cannabis-free public places bylaw, which is my understanding those bylaws have been sent out to council a couple of weeks ago there. So for the most part, this couple areas that are really going to be beneficial, I think. So the first one, as I talked about there, the unfit housing, again, bringing that down to 180 days. So we're not trying to carry files for 2 years to try and get compliance at that point. And then once that 2 years is up, then we have to go through the court process to get a court order to demolish those properties. When this was introduced in 2022, I believe we had 9 properties at the time that were unfit for human habitation. We've had a couple more that have kind of come in the meantime. So I'd say probably since 2022, including those 9 plus new ones that kind of come in and have been dealt with, we've had about 14 to 15 unfit houses. We have 1 as of today. So again, from what we see in other communities, that's a drastic decrease, but that's also us using our applicable legislation to be able to clean up these properties, right? So another thing that's drastically going to help is that appeal process. Currently, any orders we issue, whether it's from, again, you have to shovel your sidewalk, you got to cut your grass, all the way up to you have to remove a structure, is currently an appeal process. We're proposing removing the appeal process for a couple of those smaller, lower level things, if you want to call it that, such as a sidewalk. So for example, if we identify whether through a complaint or through proactive that a sidewalk's not shoveled from snow or ice, we come do a door knock, you don't shovel it. The formal process is we have to give you an order. The order at minimum, we have to give you 14 days to then shovel your sidewalk. Depending on if there's a vacant property and we have to mail it out, there you have to add on another 7 days no matter what. If it's an owner that's in Saskatchewan, PEI, whatever, we have to add another 14 days. So we could be looking at, have 28 days to shovel your sidewalk, which is not, I think, the intent of what we're looking to do. So trying to kind of clean that up and make it a lot more streamlined. So in essence, for the most part, our officers can come in on their day 1 shift, do a bunch of sidewalks, and by their last shift of the week, hopefully most of those sidewalks are already dealt with. Again, there's going to be some nuances. Again, if people aren't living there, we got to send it out. Again, we can't get rid of those timelines, but at least this 14-day appeal process, we're hopefully able to remove so that we're able to move forward and get the community cleaned up to where council wants and what the community expects. And then the last thing, just super quick talk on the 3 bylaws that we're proposing to rescind there. So this was brought forward to the Community Safety Committee last year. The committee talked about it extensively, about whether or not to keep these. The Community Safety Committee is comprised of Enforcement Services, RCMP, Alberta Health Services, Fire Department, and then 2 members of council. So the presentation was then provided to last council during a governance and priorities committee on whether or not to get rid of these bylaws. The kind of decision at that time was that they're not relevant, so to move forward with repealing those. So When we look at the curfew bylaw, high level, this was a kind of a 90s/early 2000s thing where lots of municipalities were introducing these kind of bylaws. Great in theory. However, there's been jurisdictions across Canada that have been challenged in courts and haven't won on the successfulness of that. And when you look at the charter, everyone has the right to free access and mobility. So again, there's charter issues that start coming into play on something like that. Even though we might not agree with that, is what it is. The next thing that comes in is the smoking bylaw. So everything that's within the smoking bylaw is currently captured under provincial legislation. So instead of essentially having a municipal bylaw trying to mirror provincial legislation, but not because provincial legislation is updated, similarly trying to remove that so that we get rid of the redundancies. And then the smoke-free public places bylaw, that was introduced in 2018, kind of when cannabis was becoming legal across Canada. Municipalities everywhere didn't really know what to expect, and there wasn't really any clear what's actually going to happen. So a common thing that municipalities did at the time was to introduce bylaws very similar to ours to prohibit or restrict where individuals can consume cannabis. In Drayton Valley, our current bylaw states that you cannot consume cannabis in public areas. Not just in Drayton Valley, but across other municipalities that I've worked at and just visit. You don't commonly see people walking down the road consuming cannabis. So it's not the issue that everyone kind of anticipated it was going to be. So again, proposing to get rid of that. At any point though, if council is desirous of keeping any provisions of those three bylaws, I'd still suggest rescinding those. And then we can put those into the actual community standards bylaw. They could easily fit into the public behavior sections of it. So we're not running with a bylaw that's 10, 15 pages long that has one offense section. We can just throw it into the community standards bylaw. So with that, we are looking to have second and third reading. And then if those pass today, then the bylaw would become law and we'd start enforcing the new bylaw. So subject to that, any questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions this morning? Go ahead, Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. For the houses that are being condemned, are they actually by Alberta Health Services? That's who's making that decision?
Correct. So there's kind of two possibilities that could occur. The first one, and this is the common one, is it's deemed unfit for human habitation by Alberta Health Services. So I think they're considered an executive officer, I think they call them. And then the second option under a bylaw is deemed unsafe by a safety codes officer, whether that's building, fire, etc. We haven't had that since this bylaw has been introduced. It's been strictly just off of the unfit for human habitation through Alberta Health.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions this morning? Councillor Jeffrey?
Just to comment that definitely there's lots covered in here that's very good. My question is about the enforcement. Basically, to what extent are you feeling like you're able to enforce what's laid out here?
So a lot of this, like, prime example is the sidewalks. So currently, whether, again, we receive a complaint or it's proactive, we know that process most likely is going to take a couple weeks with current bylaw, right? So we essentially are limited because of our other call volumes that are coming in on our proactiveness that we're going to be doing on those because it's such a burdensome process to go through all of it kind of thing, right? So removing a appeal period for something like that, for example, it's going to streamline those processes. So we're able to be more proactive in some of those kind of things. Same thing with the unfit properties, again, just removing some of those timelines. There's very little really introducing new stuff. There's a couple new things, which I don't anticipate is going to really change our workload on that very much. When we look at our annual report last year, and it's consistent with our previous annual reports, we dealt with about 450 different investigations under the community standards bylaw. So it's very well enforced, both from a proactive standpoint as well as from complaints from the public. And that was something when I joined the organization in 2022 with the previous council, that was something that was very big of the previous council's cleaning up the community. And this community standards bylaw has done wonders in my opinion on doing that. Is the town completely cleaned up and we're perfect? No, there's still more work to do. But realistically as well, for a number of years prior to 2022, community standards type stuff on slightly private properties was really, for the most part, not really dealt with in this community. So it's a bit of a catch-up game, but we're strides ahead from where we were, so.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. Couple of questions. One, it's not that I'm against it, I was just wondering, is dumpster diving an issue in the municipality? Like, I don't see it, but I'm just wondering, you've probably seen it.
Yeah, we get the odd complaint about it, along with the RCMP, similarly get the complaint about that. Normally it's your commercial bins that people are dumpster diving in. Currently, there's nothing that really says you can't do that. So complaints are coming in, we're telling the public, sorry, they're allowed to do that, nothing we can do. We also, when there is no legislation governing it, we're not even lawfully placed. So if we show up and we're start engaging with the individual, I'm gonna pretend I'm an RCMP officer for a moment. The RCMP officer gets complaint, they show up, they start engaging with the individual. Now all of a sudden they've got a bunch of drugs with them, or there's some more criminal code stuff. They get into a fight, the individual gets charged with resisting arrest, obstructing a peace officer, all that kind of stuff. When it gets to court, ultimately, why was the officer there? Were they lawfully able to be there? If the answer is no, all of your criminal charges could be out the window as well, right? So this helps with that lawful placement of an officer when the complaints do come in. It's not just I'm showing up and hoping that everything goes right. It's giving the officers that lawful placement to at least be there. Doesn't necessarily mean that tickets need to be issued, but it also starts with, now can we bring in our resource, our community, what's Vanessa's title?
Community support work.
Community support worker. Can we bring in the community support worker in some of these instances as well, right? Now that we're lawfully placed to be there. So again, if something happens, we're not running down the lane, we're in the court process, and the officer just got punched in the face and nothing happens now.
Got it, okay. And the other thing had to do with the bylaws that we're looking to rescind. I don't really have and this is more for council, but I don't really have a problem with getting rid of the curfew bylaw, even though, you know, in reality, you know, I'd like young people to be home at night, but you can't do that. But the smoking and the cannabis-free public places bylaw, to me, just because they're redundant doesn't mean that we should get rid of them, you know, especially considering how political certain substances have become, and depending who's in the provincial government or the federal government, you know, the law can change. And so to me, I think that those two should stay, but yeah, so I guess if we're going to rescind those are going to be subsidiary, or is that going to be upon passing of this bylaw?
If the bylaw passes, those would automatically just be rescinded.
Okay, so then I'd like to change that so that we vote on those separately. That way I can be in favor of the bylaw and then, you know, opposed to the parts that I'm not wild about, if that makes sense.
So you have 3 bylaws within the community standards bylaw, correct?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Councillor Brooks' question, there is the possibility, as Mr. Rossing has said, that we could incorporate certain portions into the community standards bylaw by amendment. If it is the will of council, we could not rescind the 2 bylaws mentioned by Councillor Brooks and do an amendment later on, incorporating them in, and then rescinding them from being separate bylaws at that time. So if that would be the will of council, that is an option.
So are those 3 bylaws separate now, or are they included as an appendice or a schedule under the community standards bylaw?
Currently, there are 3 separate bylaws.
So we would just be making a motion today for second reading and third reading, and then would those 3 bylaws not come back for discussion or to be rescinded if they're separate?
The current proposal, Madam Mayor, is that if you pass third reading of this bylaw, that it will rescind those 3 bylaws. It's written into it.
I made this difficult.
So where is it written in it?
Very end.
So right on the very last page of the proposed bylaw, looks like it's page 62 of your agenda. It has under severability, and that this bylaw shall rescind the following bylaws. So the curfew bylaw, smoking bylaw, and the cannabis-free public places bylaw.
So there is the option to remove and that this bylaw shall rescind, and those would be a separate,
Yes, Madam Mayor.
yeah. Because they weren't part of this bylaw in the past, no. So this has just been added in as part of the amendment. So that amendment could be removed if you want, and then we could have a separate discussion with that, which I would agree to, just to focus on the community standards bylaw today. We have 2 separate motions to give second reading and to give third and final reading, and then to address those either at a later date or after. Did you have another question, Councillor? Okay, I'm just going to go to Councillor Wheeler first, and then I'll go to Deputy Finn.
Thank you. I think the bylaw is great. I'm super excited that we're able to shorten the timelines and get issues dealt with. It's something that our community has concerns about a lot. For me, I am not concerned about the bylaws. I think, like you said, it's redundant for the smoking one because it's literally written into provincial legislation. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. If it does, we could change something if we needed to, but at this point, I don't think so. And same with the cannabis. You're correct that people were very concerned. I was on council at the time of what was going to happen, and so we made the rules, but they haven't been enforced or used, and it almost falls under the smoking bylaw now anyway, so it's very obsolete. I don't think there's a need to keep any of the 3 personally, so I'm okay with, if we want to separate it out and vote on them, that's no problem, but I'm also okay leaving it in because I am not supportive of keeping any of them, so.
Deputy Finn?
Farrell took words out of my mouth, but, so just to echo her comments, I guess one question on that. So with the smoking bylaw and the cannabis fee bylaw, how are we in line compared to what the provincial is? Is the provincial a lot more, probably more advanced as to where we are? Because they've done updates, or?
Yeah, so smoking bylaw, for example, was passed in 2003. As you can imagine, things like vaping weren't even around in 2003, where that's now captured under provincial legislation. Definitions of tobacco have changed in that time. So again, it's really, if I was to write a ticket under the smoking bylaw today, I'd be curious if I'd even win in court because it's so outdated and there's been the updates in the provincial legislation. So, and in a practicality aspect as well, if there's a municipal bylaw and a provincial statute that essentially tie to the exact same thing, 99.99% of the time, we are always going to go with provincial statute. So again, it's not like it's an option that's available for us in case we need it. We've already got the provincial legislation that's there. It's more updated, it's more encompassing of kind of the new flavors of the day of what's going on.
So then with that, I guess if there was a change to the provincial that we didn't agree with, then we could do an amendment to the community service bylaw, just add that little blurb in there that would say this is.
Depending on what it is,
Yeah.
we can't
We can't go against
Go
provincial, 100%.
against it, but if we wanted to, for example, if under provincial legislation, smoking in a rec facility is $300, if council decided, no, that's a big issue in our community, we want to make it $5,000, then that'd be something where, at that point, I would just suggest we would introduce that into the community standards bylaw under the provisions of the public behavior aspect, so.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions, Councillor Bowen?
Yeah, thank you very much for this. I guess I do have a couple of questions in regards to removing appeals for people. Not that I disagree with that. Some concerns that I might have, or people in town might have, is if you decide to issue a ticket to somebody, they have no way to appeal it. Let's say that their sidewalk was 90% cleared, but there was 10% on there. I'm not saying you guys would issue a ticket for that, but if it was the case, let's say this person was a pain in the ass and you did anyways, due to 10% snow not being cleared, do they have any way of saying, I'm not paying this ticket because my sidewalk was cleared and therefore I feel like the ticket was unwarranted, so forth, so forth?
Yeah, so two separate things we're talking about. Of
course.
Tickets, council has no purview over that whatsoever.
Yep.
So if we were to issue a ticket, there is no appeal process to a ticket. If you get a ticket, you dispute it through the court process, then the justice will make the determination. So if we were to go and write a ticket that a sidewalk was only cleared 10%.
Sure.
Or only 10% remaining,
Yep.
then ultimately that would be up to the justice to make that determination on whether or not that's going to be a reasonable ticket or not. What we're talking about is an order. So those are separate from a violation ticket. An order is essentially a two-pager. This is who the owner of the property is. Here's the property information. Property is in contravention of the bylaw due to, you have this date to come into compliance with it. If you don't come into compliance with it, then at that point, we have the ability to hire contractors. We come in, we do the work, give you the invoice with a admin fee. If that's not paid within 30 days, that gets transferred onto your tax roll. So ultimately through tax process, there's appeal period, stuff that can go into there. So there's still some of those kind of back end things on there. Part of our internal process as well is before an officer is allowed to essentially move forward with hiring a contractor, it has to go through me for approval to make sure that they've actually done everything right. So we're not going out there doing all this work, entering on someone's property unlawfully or whatever the case may be. So again, we've got some of those internal checks and balances in place as well for that, so.
Any other questions? My only suggestion would be to make the motion to give second reading to community standards bylaw text amendment and to remove 3A, B, and C and to have a separate motion on that, just because they are separate bylaws. And then that way we can make the motion on the community standards bylaw today, and then we can have a vote on to rescind the other three bylaws to combine them all together. Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Just on that note, though, on that, I guess because it does reference in the bylaw that the other ones are rescinded, right? We should probably, the motion should read to remove that section, right?
And what section is that?
Was that page 62, is it? Yeah, page 62.
That's what I said, 3A, B, and C.
Yeah, get rid of those, right?
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, Madam Mayor, you can't remove the severability clause. You can remove "and that"
Yes.
and the bylaws, but
Yeah.
don't remove 3, just remove the A, B, and C under 3.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Okay, did you want to make a motion, Councillor Clark, then?
I will try. Give me 2 seconds here. I'll pull it up.
Just with the removal of
Yeah. So I
3,
will make the
A, B,
motion
C.
that council gives second reading to the Community Standards Bylaw Text Amendment 2026-02P, removing
With the amendment to remove,
section 3ABC in the proposed bylaw. Does that work?
yep. Did you capture that, Ms. Thompson? Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so there is a motion to give second reading to the Community Standards Bylaw text amendment 2026-02P with the amendment to remove 3A, B, and C. Is there any comment, question, debate on the motion? Councillor Wheeler?
We're still just going to put 3A, B, and C on after these two motions, right? Okay, perfect.
Deputy Finn?
I just want to make sure that we're not actually removing number 3, though. It's just the A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ms. Whaley.
I was just listening to Councillor Wheeler. If the request is to bring them back immediately to repeal the 3 bylaws, asking to be severed from this bylaw, you need a bylaw to repeal a bylaw. So we can't bring it back today. If you want to remove those 3 today, they have to be repealed with this bylaw, or we'll bring you back a repealing bylaw with all the bylaws that need to be repealed.
And I think that's fine. It should be 2 separate votes, really. It shouldn't be included in the community standards bylaw to rescind 3 other bylaws. It should be a separate bylaw. And then that way we're voting on it, because right now we're voting on second and third reading for the amendments to the community standards bylaw. So then the other bylaw would be the repeal of the three. So they should be technically separated. So then that way everyone can vote whether, because there are some councillors that are not, so you can't just take that part out to vote. So they should be two separate bylaws.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm okay with that. I'm just saying that if it's, the recommendation from administration is that we move forward with this new bylaw and repeal these three. So if that's all we're going to do, putting it off for another couple weeks for me is a lot of work for administration. So moving forward, I agree with you, and I'd like to see it come separately forward at all times for any bylaw repeal, but I'd like to hear where the rest of the councillors are at with the repeals, that's all.
Any other comments, question, debate? Then I'll call the motion for second reading. All in favor? That is carried. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to give third and final reading to the community standards bylaw text amendment with the amendment to remove section 3, A, B, and C? Not section 3, but 3A, B, C. Yeah. Deputy Finn?
I move that council give third and final reading to the Community Service Bylaw Text Amendment 2026-02P as presented in RFD 26031 with the removal of A, B, and C under the and that. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Then I'll call the motion. All in favor? That is carried. And then we'll wait for administration to bring back a bylaw for those three, curfew bylaw, smoking bylaw, and the cannabis-free public places bylaw. Next up on the agenda is 8.2. This is Ms. Whaley to rescind the dress code policy.
From standards to standards, council. The dress code policy is an administrative policy. It cannot in any way harness council or harness outside contractors, and unfortunately, currently ours does. So I am asking for this to be rescinded, and we have an administrative policy ready to go that will be enforced only with staff and appropriate per department. Our current one, as I'm sure you enjoyed reading and seeing all the pictures, by and large says Public Works has to wear chunky jewelry. So we're hoping that we can stop that from happening, as it would be unsafe. Anyway, we're asking for this to be rescinded.
Thank you very much for that. And I would just like to make a note that when the dress code policy was presented at the previous council, it was not presented with all of the dress code guidelines, nor the pictures or anything else that is included in this. That was somehow done after that it came to council. So I just want to make a note that, yeah. Questions? Councillor Brooks, did you have a question? Okay. If you would like to make a motion, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I was, it's kind of funny, I was here for first reading of this bylaw. I was just sitting over there. I was on the other council at the time. And I thought at the time, why are you guys doing that? That's totally administrative. That has nothing to do with council. Anyway, yeah, ready to make a motion. So I move that council rescind council policy A-02-24 dress code policy.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? So just a question is, so when it comes to certain facilities where we do have, I guess, uniforms or certain, like, for, like, certain facilities, how is that incorporated then within the organization?
The administrative policy that will come into force is being built out with appendices per location division and including type of job.
Okay, perfect. Okay, if there's no further comment, question, debate, then I'll call the motion. All in favor? That is carried. Moving along, we have 8.3, which is tree maintenance and care information. This is Ms. Whaley again this morning.
Thank you, council. So at the previous council meeting, there was some questions brought up during roundtable about a resident's concerns regarding town trees on town property, that the resident felt was unsafe. This is quite common around town. We have many people with opinions on trees and roots and how it affects the sidewalks and the trails. So we've just provided this for your information, and with recommendations that staff feel would make lives easier as opposed to one-off decision-making. So I'm going to leave this for if you have questions as opposed to reading through all of it for you. I've provided it, but this is just background information compiled by administration and for your edification.
Thank you for that. Any questions for administration? Is there a member of council who'd like to make a motion? Me? Yeah. Oh, sorry, Councilor Wheeler. I just nodded. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Wheeler.
Thank you. I move that council receive the tree maintenance and care report as information.
Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Go ahead, Councilor Wheeler. You're going to debate?
No, it's not debate. It's just, I appreciate the information coming forward when we do have residents who have concerns. I'm sure they aren't actually one-offs to us. Sometimes they feel like they are, but on a regular basis. So I think it's important that we do have some kind of a direction that we start to head. The recommendation is to consider doing a tree assessment and then also to work on developing some kind of a bylaw and policy so that we have some support for our administration team, and I think that's great. I think there's always exceptions to any of that stuff, but in general, it will be helpful, and helpful for residents too, to be able to say, like, here's what we're following, this is what we're doing, this is why. So yeah, I think it's good to bring it forward. I also think that trees really do suck up a lot of water and help with our extreme weather events or shade in the heat and stuff like that, and so they're important to kind of keep mind of in our community and where we put them and how we deal with them, so.
Thank you for that. Councilor Brooks, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was actually just wondering, so this has a lot to do with removal of trees. While I was knocking on doors, one resident had asked me, they were trying to plant a tree, and they couldn't plant the tree. I think it was on their side of the sidewalk, but I think there was some right-of-way there. And it might be just because of that right-of-way, like whatever's underneath. I don't know what's underneath, but I was wondering, is there any kind of policy or anything like that regarding the opposite of taking a tree out, right? So
To the knowledge of administration, Councilor Brooks, no, we don't have anything in place to prevent that. There is some provisions in the land use bylaw where you have to have a certain number of trees on your property in new development. But beyond that, we don't have provisions per se to.
you have to have a certain number of trees on your property?
Yes, we'll be bringing back the land use bylaw in the spring and summer.
Very good. That's a really weird thing to have.
Sorry, just to assist. Under the community standards bylaw, we do prohibit planting trees or shrubs on municipal property without permission. So it's on your side though, there's nothing that we would prohibit, but if you are actually trying to plant on the boulevard.
I haven't seen the property lines on this particular, it's kind of their side of the sidewalk, but it might not actually be their property. So
But there's not a
It's hard to say.
specific tree that, or certain, I know like the city of Edmonton, you can't plant laurel leaves because I believe they just with their roots and everything grab a hold of the water system that's underneath, so.
There would also be the caveat if it's considered a noxious or prohibited weed or tree or anything like that, obviously you can't plant those ones.
noxious
but
and prohibited trees. I knew about weeds.
There's a couple of them. So not many, but there's a couple. And that's regulated through the province.
Yeah, so I might just, I'll do a little more digging on this particular individual's case and maybe bring that to administration. But, yeah, that was all I had to say.
Perfect, thank you. Any other comment, question, debate? Councillor Jeffrey?
Just a comment, when I go through this and I see that there's an overview of Public Works' current process, and it's very clearly listed and itemized, I think that's very helpful. So to be able to share that with a concerned citizen would be a very important step to take. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So there's a motion that council receive the tree maintenance and care report as information. If there's no further comment, question, debate, then I'll call the motion. All in favor? That is carried. And that wraps up our decision items for this morning. Next up, we have council reports. I'll start with Councillor Boehm.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since last council meeting, actually been fairly busy. On February the 10th, we had our discussion in regards to doing 24-hour policing in and around Drayton Valley and Brazos County, and so that was a very interesting discussion, and looking forward to kind of what we have coming forward from that. On the 11th, we had our governance and priorities meetings. On the 12th of February, I went to Edmonton to go to the Emerging Law Conference done by Brownlee LLP, and there was some interesting discussion in regards to new trends for people building, I guess, warehouses with computers in them, doing bit mining and that kind of stuff. The amount of power that's required to do all of that and so forth. And so I was just quite interesting. I don't think it'll be an issue in Drayton Valley, probably anytime soon, as we don't think we have the infrastructure set up for it, but maybe it will be. And then on the 16th, we had the Family Day celebration here at the Team Auction Center, and was able to join Councillor Wheeler and Jeffries cooking some burgers. So that was fantastic. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. Next up, Councillor Clark.
Really, all I had was the dome presentation. That was kind of enlightening in terms of costs and what that would potentially look like, and be interesting to see what our counterparts over at the county have to say, because we didn't really get a chance to chat with them. So, other than that, that's all I had.
Thank you for that. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you. Other than, the dome project, I haven't had any board meetings, but I had the Alberta Free Energy presentation, which was that cogeneration system. I love that idea. I think it would be a really great thing to attach to certain municipal facilities. Other than that, I attended a Brazos County Council meeting. And in this particular meeting, they didn't end up going through with it, but it was presented to them a dust control agent. I think it was canola oil. And it's supposed to last, I can't remember, it's 3 or 4 times longer than conventional dust control, like the calcium chloride. Which it was interesting, but it lasts 4 times longer and it's 4 times more expensive. That being said, right now they source their materials from the United States, and so their materials are getting 20% tariffs. So it might be, if they source their materials from, Canada and avoid those tariffs, it'll last 4 times longer and maybe only be 3 times more expensive. So they didn't end up going through with it, but they had a section of road just outside of the town that they were going to try it on. So maybe going in the future, if things change, it might be an interesting thing for us to try out on some of our gravel roads. And that's it.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I met with the Youth Advisory Committee, or they had a meeting that I was attending, and just a couple updates. They're doing their strat plan this month, so we'll be setting the direction. And one of the pieces I want to bring forward for them is that we're able to use them as a sounding board for us. So if we're making decisions or doing things or stuff's coming forward that we're kind of getting that youth perspective on, using that committee. So do that. They're talking about doing a little bit of branding, potentially either getting hoodies or lanyards that they could wear if they're at an event so that people know that they're part of that committee. And then they do have an empty seat for Star Catholic. So if anyone knows a youth who is involved in Star Catholic that'd be interested in sitting on the advisory committee, you can put an application in with the town. There is an application process online like normal, so. Then we had the energy presentation, and I was yeah, really impressed. I was curious what prompted them to come. Was that through your guys' committee or? Yeah.
Through the chair to Councillor Wheeler, that was a request that came out of the joint council get-together, their first meeting with Brazeau. I believe it was brought forward by Councillor Clark as he had met with them previously.
Okay, so like is the rec committee, is that, you sit on the rec committee? Is the rec committee kind of looking at that or?
So where it came from was the original discussions with the Dome.
okay.
Those guys actually came to site and just took a look next to the pool and just kind of discussed what they had at high level. Like, we didn't get too into it. So I think that presentation was probably pretty enlightening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. I just want to make sure there's that follow-up connection or who's kind of taking the lead on, if we sit on sustainability committee, it's a sort of sustainable thing, but it's not our project. So if you got it, that's great. So.
Yeah, I would say like it's not necessarily anybody's right now. Like the rec board didn't really take it on as any sort of thing. I think it was just as a part of the joint council meeting. But I do think that probably is the place to do it. But
Through the chair to Councillor Clark, yes, because the rec board is joint and it is a jointly funded operation, it should definitely be going through the joint rec board.
Yeah, awesome. I did attend out at the Breton fundraiser, the Camo and Bling on the last weekend. That was really fun. And nice to see the community out and about and doing things. And then, yeah, Family Day was great. We had lots of people come by. We were flipping burgers. My arms got a workout with the lid lifting. And yeah, but everyone had fun. So thanks to everyone else who participated too. I know it's a lot of work for our administration to organize those types of events. So Maddie did a great job and everyone was very happy with the tournament as well. Saw lots of feedback online of all like their costumes the kids had. The little Lego ones, they put like the faces on the back of the yellow helmets. Oh, they looked so cute. It was really good. So yeah, that's it.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Jeffrey.
I've kind of been busy the last little while, but there are a couple of things that I'll highlight. I had the opportunity to go to Jasper to attend the Economic Development Workshop, and it was very good for me to do that. I learned a lot, and I was able to interact with a dozen individuals from close by municipalities, so that was a very good use of my time that day. I've definitely been working with some local citizens, and I appreciate very much the efforts put in by town staff to address the concerns that have been raised, and I will follow up with all of that. I've learned a lot in a couple different things. That 24-hour enforcement event with Lac La Biche was very interesting to me, the dome presentation, those types of things, and so I appreciate that. And then, yes, I ended up with Family Day, froze to death. And having been part of organizing events like that in the past, I very much appreciate the amount of work that was done and know that there was lots of effort put into that. So good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Finn.
So yeah, echoing everyone's, the 24-hour enforcement, definitely a major fan of that one. It was really interesting how they're doing that. The 11th was, again, the Dome meeting and GNP. The 12th, I met with Councillor Jeffries with a business owner in town, which we'll go into roundtable discussions, so maybe just pop that up quickly. I also had the community safety meeting on the 12th. The strategic plan, the priorities of the committee were presented. And yeah, it looks good. And then we had an airport meeting on the 12th as well. Yeah, everything's going. It was a busy week for sure.
Yeah, right. Perfect, thank you very much for that. So for myself, I attended a mid-sized mayor's towns and Alberta Munis meeting. The president and administration wanted to meet with us just to find out what we're doing and to be able to support us as we move forward with additional infrastructure funding and what our initiatives are. I also attended Alberta Munis had a webinar with our towns west. They were given updates on some of the things that they're doing at the level of Alberta Munis and just kicking it off, particularly with all the new councils now. that have onboarded in the fall. We had the meeting with Minister Bachenko and Brazeau County in regards to the dome and the grant that's on the table, potentially for some other projects that the town has that are shovel-ready. So we'll be looking into that in the coming days, I'll say, as that, I think that grant opens up in the first week of April. So we'll be applying for that. Also, again, like everyone had said, I really enjoyed the 24-hour enforcement edition of meeting with Lac La Biche. I think what they're doing up there is great, and if we could mirror something like that in our community, I think it would really help alleviate some of the local crime that we're having, you know, with our businesses and residences in the community. And they've already initiated that there, so they've done the legwork. We could kind of just copy and paste it here and bring it to our community. So looking forward to learning more about that and seeing how we could bring that here. I also had an additional RAC meeting. That's the Regional Authority Council with the province when it comes to our healthcare and the pillars that they divided across the province. So we're moving forward. We're starting to now get a schedule for the next 6 months on regular meetings with them. So hopefully we'll have a chance to be getting out in the community. What we've created right now is we're creating a QR code. So if anybody has any concerns about healthcare or our hospital or doctors or anything, let me know, and then I can get you to scan the QR code, and then you can state your issues, our challenges in our community, and then it goes straight to the province and to our region, which is Region 6, and then all the regions will have an opportunity to kind of cross-examine, you know, the different districts and what's happening, and that's how we can drive up the concerns. And I know that there have been a lot lately, so once I get that QR code, I would encourage everyone to reach out to me or ask for me, or maybe I can even share it with council, because otherwise I could get bombarded in the grocery store with everything that's happening in our community when it comes to healthcare. So that's exciting. Also getting ready for strat planning, which will be happening in the next couple days. I had met with the facilitator last week to kickstart things. He seems like a wonderful gentleman, and I'm looking forward to hearing what council's priorities are, why you ran again, and the direction that you want to see us go over the next 4 years. So that will be exciting. Several meetings in the community with businesses on just things that are happening. And I attended the Thunder game on Sunday, which was fantastic. It was a 5-2 win for them. And I just want to give a shout out to IGA for all the efforts and the tickets that they gave. It was really nice to see them and all the kids involved in the community and just them giving their time. So great job to them and great win for the Thunder as well. That wraps up my report. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion to accept our council reports as information? I see Councillor Jeffrey has her mic on and she's ready to go.
Whoops, sorry. What am I, I'm making a motion to accept the reports as presented.
As information, perfect. Thank you very
information.
much for that. I'll call the motion, all in favor? That is carried. And just before we go on to break, we'll jump into 10.1, which is our roundtable discussions. I believe that Councillor Jeffrey has a roundtable discussion. She has a binder. Do we want to call a bathroom break first? Yes, go ahead.
All right, as you've picked up on, Councillor Finn and I met with a couple of, do we say names? Of citizens? Local business owner.
Yeah.
Close to where we're at, that expressed a couple concerns that I've passed on to administration, and we're waiting for information to come back. But basically, the concerns were related to the operation of a sand truck in front of their business. Probably it was before Christmas, December area. Anyway, the result of it was that there were pebbles and sand that was dispersed there and hit their building, causing some damage to the windows and to certain parts of the surrounding metal that was there. So they expressed their concern, and were told that measures would be taken. So have just kind of waiting to find out what's happened to ensure that that doesn't occur again, basically, right?
Yeah, and so the damages were up near the 25,000. They are working with their insurance company, but their biggest concern was there was no gravel on the road. It was just all on the sidewalks, and that on those corners is bus pickup. So if that standing truck was going through and it happened to be around 8 in the morning, if kids were there standing, if those rocks were shooting out, that was their biggest concern with that one. And it did cause significant damage to their building, and then there was other buildings that they've noticed that there was damage on as well.
And just a couple other concerns, just about their application for permits to do things like have their sign put up on the building and a wheelchair access put in, et cetera. It's done, but they just were concerned about the timeline that was required. What did they say, 3 years to get permission to put the sign up on the building? So again, just a comment and response, yeah. One thing that they would like to have attention paid to is the tree thing again, apparently, and I don't know enough about trees, but they pointed out that there is one in front of their building that has a black knot on it that needs to have attention paid to it as soon as possible. So again, voicing that concern and sharing it is the important part. And finally, they pointed out something that I had not noticed, even though I've walked by it 1,000 times, is that, and I call it that water tower on the park just across from us, has graffiti on it that's been there for a very, very long time. And they're wondering about whether that'll get any attention paid to it.
Thank you very much for that. For the graffiti, I can answer that. We did bring it up quite a while ago. I thought that it was painted. I will hand it over to Ms. Whaley for comment on this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. To Councillor Jeffrey, we, administration will have responses to all of council regarding these concerns, but I would like to state that this is an alleged incident, as we have received nothing from their insurance company.
Okay, so administration hasn't received anything in regards to any of this? So maybe this would be best if they could reach out to administration, yeah.
That's what I would say. I would get her to reach out to Jocelyn, get them to reach out to Jocelyn. Or
Yes.
We have the contact for them, so we can pass
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
That would be
perfect.
great. Does anybody else have anything? No, just one thing. We have the Hall of Fame that'll be coming up on Friday. Aaron had, for those that have requested, you have tickets in your cubby. Don't forget to grab them today, because by the time you get back, maybe Friday, you might be busy and the office could be closed. So grab those. It'll be exciting to be recognizing 3 individuals in our communities that have really shaped and dedicated and brought some wonderful things to our community. So that is on the agenda for Friday. And then Saturday, I believe, is the Mental Health Symposium at the Frank Maddock High School. I know, I keep saying that too, Pat. I'm like, we said this last time. It's Saturday, so if you haven't already registered or signed up, you can still do so. There's posters around the community and things like that. Did you want to comment on that, Pat?
Yes, I do. I think that, I was thinking the other day regarding that mental health symposium, I feel the timing of it is incredibly good in terms of what was experienced at Tumbler Ridge, and the fact that we really need to recognize and address that mental health is a reality.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Thank you for that. Okay, so if you haven't signed up for that, just trying to think of anything else that's happening in the next. Oh, we got ice carnivals coming up the weekend after that. I believe, Councillor Jeffrey, you have both of those. So if you need anything else, let myself or Jen know to help you. And yeah. Okay, wonderful. If there's nothing else, then there's no information items. I will get a member of council to move us into closed. Deputy Finn.
I move that council move into close under section 21.1 of the Access to Information Act.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. I'll call the motion. All in favor? That is carried.